I hope you're having a lovely day. Be safe out there, it's Halloween. But what I want to get to is that don't be afraid of change. Don't be afraid of going through changes. Like in life, we have different seasons. The planet goes through different seasons. We have winter, spring, summer, fall. Sometimes it's going to be hot, some days it's going to be cold, some days it's going to rain, some days it's going to snow. But at the end of the day, the thing that remains constant is that it keeps changing. Really nothing stays the same all the time. And you have to be ready to understand that throughout life we're going to grow. Things are going to change. You won't be the same height your entire life. You won't be the same mentally. Like, you're going to get older, you're going to learn stuff, you're going to forget stuff, you're going to meet people, you're going to have breakups, relationships, marriages, divorces. Stuff changes. And when you're afraid to change, you're going to remain in the same spot your entire life. Like, if you're afraid to eat better, you're always going to stay the same. If not, you're going to get worse. If you're not afraid, if you are afraid to go meet people, you're not going to go have a relationship or a marriage or start a family or, if these are things you don't want, okay. I'm not saying you have to want them. I'm just saying that if you do want them, you have to be ready to do things that are out of your comfort zone, out of the normal, to achieve them. If you want to learn how to drive, you have to take a test. You have to take a permit test. You have to buy a car. You have to learn to drive it. These are things out of your norm. These are things that are changes. They're different. They're not all how everything's always been. It's different. You have to be ready to change. And so many people just don't change. They won't ever change. You can't make someone change if they don't want to. And that's something a lot of people need to understand. You cannot make somebody be someone or something that they don't want to be. Like, you cannot make somebody become a better person. You can inspire them to. You can motivate them to. You can explain to them why they should. But if they don't want to do it, they won't do it. And that's something we always have to accept. Like, you have to accept people are going to be who and what they are. People might be afraid to show different sides of themselves. They might be afraid to grow. But at the end of the day, it's their choice. It's their choice whether or not they go to the gym. It's their choice whether or not they eat better. And likewise, it's your choice whether or not you eat better, whether or not you go to the gym, whether or not you do what it is that it will take to get to your goal. It's your choice. And when we live afraid of change, we don't change. We don't grow because we become so comfortable in one spot. That's why some people can work 40 years in a job they hate, but they're fine with that because they've gotten used to hating it. Like, they've gotten used to it. Like, they're like, oh, I'm going to hate it again. I'm going to hate it again. But going for a new job, even if that job has a possibility of being better, means that it's different. It's a change. It's not the same. You were working 40 years at Walmart. Now you're trying to work at Home Depot. Or you're trying to work at McDonald's. Or you're trying to work at a car dealership. I'm trying to use examples that are very simple. Like, things that are easy to understand. Because I'm not saying you're trying to go from working at Walmart and then going into brain surgery. No, you're going from Walmart to Home Depot. They're pretty similar. They sell different stuff, but they're pretty similar. But the problem is, if you're afraid of change, you won't try that new opportunity. You won't try to go for that new position. You won't try to get that raise. You won't try to become a manager rather than a worker. You won't try to become an owner rather than an employee. You won't try to do the things that are different the things that are outside the box because you are so afraid of leaving the box. If you're afraid of leaving the box, you are going to live in the box. You are going to become the box. The box is limiting you. The box is what holds you back. The box stops your growth. The box is the reason why you remain in the same spot. Because if you're inside of a box, you can only grow to the size of the box. You cannot grow past the box. And if you do, you're then stepping into uncomfortable areas. You're like, oh my gosh, there's this whole big world out here. I thought my city was the only place that ever existed because that's the only place I've ever lived. Those are the only people I know. Those are the only places I've seen. But you have to step outside of that box. You have to step outside that comfort zone. Like, my city isn't the only place in this state, in this country, in this continent, in this world, in this universe. It's not the only place. There's so much that we can achieve if we become comfortable with change, if we are ready to grow, if we are ready to step beyond. Because you might be in a pool, you could be inside of a pool, and you're in 3 feet of water. The pool goes 12 feet deep. It's a 12-foot deep pool, but you are only in 3-foot water because you're afraid of stepping into something further. You're afraid of going deeper. You're afraid of going beyond. You're afraid of pushing past those limits. And if you're afraid of pushing past those limits, you are never going to do it. You are never going to do it because it's okay to be afraid to do something. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to be afraid. But when you allow that to overpower you, that's when it's a problem. Like, if you're in a war and you're on the front lines, there's bombs going off and people are like shooting, of course you're going to be scared. You're going to be afraid. You're going to want to go home. But you have to overpower that. You can't let that hold you back. And if you let that hold you back, you're going to get shot. You're going to be the first one to drop because you allowed fear to hold you back. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to have fear. It's okay to be scared to try something. But the more you do it, the less scared you will be. Like when I first started riding my skateboard, I was terrified. Knees shaking. I'm like, oh my gosh, a car could hit me. I could get ran over by a bus. I could fall off. This could happen. That could happen. I could hit a rock. This could happen. That could happen. But as I did it more and more, I got less afraid. I became less fearful. I became more confident in it. I know, okay, here's what to do. Here's how to ride it. Here's how to stand. Here's how to move my feet. And it becomes so comfortable that you don't even have to think about it. It's like second nature to you. So when you allow fear to overpower you, when you allow fear to control you, you will never get to the point where things become second nature, where you become comfortable, where you become relaxed, in tune, and know what it is that you are doing. And that's a problem that so many people have. They don't try new stuff. They work the same places, in the same city, that their parents did, that their grandparents did, that their grandparents' did, and they just don't change. They don't grow. They don't evolve. Now, if that is something that you don't want to do, like you genuinely do not want to grow, you genuinely do not want to change, you are completely satisfied with where you're at, don't try to change. Because you have to want it. You have to really want it. You have to be ready to do what it takes. You have to be ready to go for it. You have to be ready to put that work in. And that's another thing I want to get to. Most people are afraid of putting that work in. They lazy. They don't want it bad enough. They don't try. And because they don't try, they don't get. And they don't do. If you didn't try to get a driver's test, a driver's license, and if you didn't try on your permit test, you would never get the license. If you didn't try to go to the gym, you would never get the muscles. If you didn't try to eat better, you would never lose the weight. If you don't try to put in an application, you'll never get the job. Most people are afraid to try because when you try, it comes with the possibility of failure. It comes with the possibility of not getting it. And that leads me to the last point I want to make. You have to see failure as a challenge to be overcome, not something to stop you. Like, okay, I didn't do good on the math test, so let me study harder. Let me find a way to improve my score. Let me take this as a learning opportunity rather than a punch in the face. You got to learn how to do that. Hope you have a great day. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe.